Hi, my name is Yvette Basica. I live in San Pedro, California, Los Angeles suburb, and you can contact me at protectfemale.com/home if you want to get a hold of me. If not, you can just find my address somehow by searching a police database if you need to. But basically, I have been a gang stalking and sex trafficking victim since 2001. I didn't realize this until 2017 when I started to put the pieces, or I'm sorry, 2015 when I started to put the pieces together. Sharing this video so you can understand where I'm coming from and then how it's escalated today. First, let's talk about the Holocaust that existed. The gassing happened, torture happened. Then we have MK Ultra, which existed through CIA government torture, which happened and nothing ever happened to them. So if you need to research those two things, I would start doing that. What I noticed was some weird things happening in college, a couple weird things, but nothing too extreme. And then after college, I went to Catholic school my whole life, and then I started to become a Christian in my 20s. And right around there, I started to notice some weird stuff happening, like more spiritual warfare attacks and different demonic spirits and things like that. And I didn't really think anything of it. I just thought it was just like a weird coincidence. Anyway, I started to volunteer I was first a personal trainer for a while, and then I started to volunteer at the Suicide Prevention Center in Culver City. And around then was when I started to notice some odd things that were happening, such as my food kind of being a little weird, getting sick a lot. Didn't understand what was happening, why I kept getting so physically ill. Went to a couple doctors. They said, oh, you have IBS, or you're having a hard time eating things. And I just thought, like, okay, I have IBS, no big deal. So I found these like natural supplements that I started taking with a naturopath doctor. And I thought, well, maybe things will get a little bit better. Then I noticed I was stalked at school when I was trying to get my prerequisites. At Santa Monica College, some guy hit me over the head and followed me and was really, really fucking creepy. He looked like a serial killer and kept harassing me throughout the library, and I ran away from him. Thought that was odd. Then I was at work as a waitress, and some guy told me he was gonna rape me. Told my manager that. They said, oh, he's just a guy from down the street. He's a little off. No big deal. Don't worry about him. And I thought, well, that's fucking weird. Anyway, ended up going to grad school in Colorado. And for psychology, somatic psychology, it was what I wanted to do. And I was on an airplane one day, and I got a woman that told me she wanted to put me in a movie. And I thought, oh, that's great, a movie. That sounds great. I can do acting. And then she said, oh, I'd have to be a prostitute. And I thought, well, that's kind of odd. Why would somebody just want me to be a prostitute out of nowhere? She looked very, very fucking creepy, very satanic, and she talked to me for a really long time, and I just thought it was really odd, and I never heard from her. And so I was like, okay, well, that's a little weird. Started to notice some weird things in Colorado, like people were kind of like looking at me a lot and public places, and I just thought, like, do I have something on my face? Do I look dirty? Is something wrong? Maybe they're attracted to me. I didn't know why I kept getting some odd stares from like a lot of people, and they just looked kind of creepy. And I thought, like, okay, well, whatever, maybe it's just Colorado. So continued grad school, started getting really sick again, really, really sick physically. Couldn't couldn't tolerate food anymore. I was drinking a lot of coffee every day just so I could keep up and finish school. And didn't realize at the time, but I was getting drugged in my coffee when I would go out in public. So if you think about this, you're getting drugged in liquid form every day. And liquid form, they usually use, like date rape drugs and things like that, or hallucinogens or LSD, whatever they want to use. So I thought that was really odd. I noticed one day I ate like 6 hamburgers in a row, and I thought, wow, it feels like there's a drug in here. That's really weird. Then I started taking my vitamins because I saw a holistic nutritionist, and he said I had to keep taking my vitamins. So I kept taking them, and I thought, wow, this feels like I'm on drugs. Like, these vitamins feel like I'm taking drugs, and it just felt really, really fucking odd. At the same time, I was getting spiritually attacked because I was in a Buddhist school, and they were doing these weird experiments. And then on top of it, with gang stalking, they do satanic ritual abuse on you. So wherever you're at, you're getting pretty fucking attacked spiritually on top of it. I also became disabled through a car accident, and I had a traumatic brain injury early on in my grad school, and I didn't know what to do. It was hard just pacing along with everything that was going on. And I had 7 classes, internship, practicum, schoolwork, master's thesis, the paper. I had a lot going on. So anyway, I just, the weird things were happening that I don't need to go all the details. But anyway, so I went to Target one day, and some lady ran my foot over with her shopping cart on purpose, popped out my ankle, and I was like, this place is fucking crazy. I'm getting out of here. So I had enough, and I just thought it was really odd. So I came back home to Los Angeles, and kept getting very sick physically, and didn't really know how to help myself. So I ended up doing an exorcism with a group of people and a priest, because I thought the whole time I was just getting spiritually attacked. I did not know I was getting drugged every day. So I would go and I would pray the rosary, and as soon as I would pray the rosary, I would start to sweat out poison from my pores everywhere, face, body, everywhere. I'd start to sweat out poisons, and I thought, wow, it's really odd that I actually sweat poison. Why would poison be in my system? So anyway, that was odd. So I moved out on my own, got a couple apartments, had some bad things happen to my apartments, kept thinking that somebody was, like, at least in one of my apartments in Playa del Rey, somebody kept coming into my apartment. And every time I would leave, there would be like black stuff on the wall, shit would be on my bed, stuff would be kind of messed with. And I thought, that's really odd. Maybe it's my neighbor who's doing it. And didn't understand. One day I woke up and I had slept for, I think, a day and a half or 2 days. And I woke up in a very odd sexual position. And I thought, okay, I'm being raped. So I went to the bathroom and checked myself and found something there, and I thought, okay, but I don't think anybody came in, and why would I have slept for so long? So I didn't do anything because I didn't know if I had proof, and I was really disabled at the time, so I just kind of moseyed on. Went to another, started trying to work from home with this nonprofit, and went to another apartment, got out of there, and quit the company. And the day after I quit, that's when I noticed the gang stalking. So there was mobs of people everywhere that I went. They were very fucking demonic, and that's when something was odd. And then I came back to my apartment. Every time I would come back, there would be these metal pieces in my apartment. These random metal objects that would be left in my laundry or the floor or random places. They would leave long nails outside of my doorstep. And I thought like that's really weird. And sometimes stuff would be stolen. And I thought, okay, that's really weird. So I talked to a girlfriend of mine who I went to college with. She was a lawyer, and she doesn't do civil rights law, but she's a general lawyer. And she was like, "You're being gang stalked, Yvette." And I said, "What the hell is that?" And so she goes, "Research it." So I started to research it. I found a group online that are all targeted individuals. Started talking to them more. The more I started talking to them, the more I started to learn, the more they came in and attacked me. They started to gas my apartment. Then I was in the shower one day, and some guy came. I don't know if it was a guy. Somebody came into my apartment, went into my bathroom while I was in the shower, broke off the shower, the towel handle on my wall with a loud, violent bang, slammed the door, drugged my drink I had on the counter that was open. It was like some coconut water. I freaked out, got out of the shower, drove to my parents' house, grabbed my drink, drank the whole drink. By the time I got to my parents' house, I was completely numb. And I was like, oh my God, I've been getting drugged this whole time. So I started to put the pieces together, told my parents. They did nothing. They said, "Oh, you're imagining things." I'm like, really? I imagined the vandalism in my bathroom. Okay, that's normal. So eventually I went to the Playa del Rey police about like maybe a week and a half after. I went back to the apartment, and they didn't do anything. They couldn't come up to my apartment, and they said, "Oh, you have 2 DUIs on your record. Do you know that?" And I said, "I don't even fucking drink. Why would I have DUIs on my record? And I've never been arrested." And they didn't say anything. And I'm like, that's really shady. So, eventually I moved out, went back to my parents' house, went to a San Pedro apartment that my parents own. So I was living alone, and that's when I started to get beat up pretty bad. So everything happened from being and they're as I'm speaking right now, my neighbors are harassing me, just to let you know. So I went to let me think. So I got drugged in my food supply. I started to get drugged when I would order food delivery. Thought, oh, well, maybe it's just happening when I order food. Maybe they're poisoning me or drugging me. I didn't notice the poisons at the time. I just noticed the drugs. So I thought, well, maybe they're just drugging me when I order food. So I thought, okay, well, that's really odd. So I started to get packaged foods. And it was subtle, but it didn't really matter. So I would leave to go to the grocery store, and I would get pretty fucking harassed when I would go inside the store. So it would be mobs of people that would be harassing me, and I did not know how they get the shit on my food. It took me a while to realize that the store workers would put a poison or a drug on their hands. They would put it on the conveyor belt. They would put it on the bags. And then they started to do it to everything. So they started to do it to the pen that you would use to swipe your credit card in. If I needed money, they would hand money back to me, and it would have shit on it. If I handed my credit card to them, they would give it back to me, and stuff would be on it. It took me a very long time to figure that out. I did not know what was happening. So then I realized that, so I still ordered coffee out sometimes, stupidly. And I would go and I would get drugged. And then when I started to get gas when I would go outside my apartment. So they would literally gas the whole environment of when I would be driving, and I couldn't make it out alive. So I didn't know what they were doing. I would have helicopters that would be waiting for me outside of my apartment, and as soon as I would leave, They would throw shit on top of me, and then I would get really sick and I would come back in. So then they started redirecting my phone calls, I realized. So I would call somebody, like a friend, and I wouldn't hear back from them ever. I wouldn't get text messages back. I wouldn't get emails back. All my phone calls were redirected. I would try to call a medical doctor or a lawyer. Never heard back from them. So throughout that time, I started freaking out and called my mom. My mom would bring me food, and my food would get tampered with. And I know she would do things to it because